Land Use Board of March 3rd, 2020. I'm going to make a couple comments tonight before we begin our meeting. Number one, our meetings begin at 6 and the latest we're going to stay open is 9:30. If things don't get solved by 9:30, it'll be carried to the next meeting. I think 3.5 hours is more than adequate for all of us to sit here and deal with this. And tonight, if anybody wants to get up and make a public comment on an application, you'll have 3 minutes. That's it. And please don't get up a second time before allowing other people who haven't spoken the first time. Now, to the last thing that's come up. Emails are being sent out amongst the borough people, and some have inadvertently been sent to members of the Land Use Board before an application is heard. That's a no-no. If you're amongst the public, you have the right to come to the meeting tonight and in public comment voice your opinions. Please do not send any emails or text or any information to anybody that is on the Land Use Board. Okay, thanks. All right, we will start by doing our flag salute. Everybody up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
and justice
for all.
Thank you. All right, Colleen.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the entrance hall of Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to Beach Haven Times and Asbury Park Press. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision for each individual application. Decorum appropriate to judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Roll call. Mrs. Eddles?
Here.
Mr. Herensky? Mrs. Lenhard?
Here.
Mr. Muha?
Here.
Mr. Pisano?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mrs. Baxter?
Here.
Mr. Metal?
Tom's here, he can't hear.
Okay.
Not hearing.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Here.
Mr. Jenna?
Here.
And Mr. Tinquist?
Here.
Okay.
Okay, new business tonight. Can I have a motion? Has everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
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 Okay. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I so move. Penny.
Penny? Second?
Second from Jerry.
Jerry?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
I think we should
Next,
note, I think we should note any abstentions. If anyone was not here at the last meeting, they should abstain.
Who was not here at the last meeting?
I think everyone was here.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion? Did you get to see the bills? They were on the website. Colleen had problems with her email, so Sherry put them on the website. Everybody have a chance to look at them. And if you
No.
did, can I have a motion to approve the bills?
Motion to approve. Tom.
Tom,
I'll second.
who second?
Amy.
Mrs. Eddles?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenhard?
Yes.
Mr. Muha?
Yes.
Mr. Pisano?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter?
Yes.
Mr. Metal?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Mr. Jenna?
Yes.
And Mr. Tinquist?
Yes.
Board members, I guess.
Okay, Jamie, you want to read the escrow?
Mr. Herensky, yes.
Scott,
Oh, Scott, oh, good.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Aye.
glad you got your shot.
First of two.
All right, the next thing.
Hello, excuse me. I just wanted to let you know, somebody sent me a text. There are a lot of people trying to get in. And they can't. I don't know if there's something wrong or not. I just received that from Carl Anderson and he said several people can't get in.
You know,
Thank
if you
you.
take the link and put it into your browser, it'll come on. I couldn't get in from the initial email, but I was able to get on by copying the link, putting it in the browser, and then going into it.
Okay, I'll let them know that. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
No problem.
Okay, Colleen.
okay, there was an escrow request for application 2018-09 for Victoria Rose, 510 North Bay Avenue, block 167, lot 1, for a performance bond release of $15,000, $15,104.04.
There's also a bond involved with that, a performance bond, a paper bond that was posted for $135,936.36. And as a condition of the release, they have to post a 2-year maintenance bond for $18,880.
And they did that?
They haven't done it yet. We have to do the letter first, and prior to releasing the money, we have to have the maintenance bond in our hands.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The following applications have been reviewed by the 3-person review board. Great American Lobster Company at 210 North Bay Avenue has been approved to open for their business where Uncle Louie G's was located next to the Silver Sun Mall. Under old business, we have resolution 2021-02 Bahama Llama. Did everybody get a chance to read that over?
I think
Yes.
there's, did you read the other 2 3-person reviews?
The what?
What about Queen City?
Queen City and Wish are the other
No,
2.
I don't have those.
Okay, do you want me to read them?
Yeah, read those.
Okay. Queen City, 615 North Bay Avenue, block 172, lot 2, has been approved to change its name from Bankston to Queen City. And Wish on 412 North Bay Avenue, block 166.02, lot 2, has been approved to open a women's boutique selling jewelry, accessories, and one-size-fits-all clothing such as cover-ups and kimonos.
Okay.
If you are not on the board, could you please mute your Zoom, please? Thank you.
Can I ask you guys a quick question about the announcements, the first announcement? The Great American Lobster Company,
Right.
just because we've had 2 other lobster companies come to town too,
Mm-hmm.
why was this one approved in the small person committee? Well, the 3-person committee, sorry about that. The 3-person review board and not like, why is this one a little bit different?
Because we felt that it fell under the criteria. I mean, it was an existing food place before. These people are doing nothing but takeout. All the parking and loading was the same as before. So I didn't see any issue with them coming before,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the whole board.
So when you say, the way I understood it, that ice cream is going from ice cream to lobster. Like, I think what's hard is and Frank can maybe help us with this. In the definition, we don't have a definition for takeout for use of a business. So when you look at the definition of a restaurant is something that prepares food under our zoning ordinance, and then you prepare it, and then I'm quoting it not correctly, but you can prepare it, and then you eat it on premise.
They're not eating it on premise. They're taking it out. There are no tables.
Okay, but but sometimes, so like we do this here, I'm just trying to talk about this as a big picture. What if they want to put 2 tables outside and they go to the town, the zoning, and we like if we let them put 2 tables out, then they're eating there. Like I
They're
was
eating
just trying to,
outside. They're eating on the public right of way if they're putting tables outside. And I suppose during COVID, they could do that. After COVID goes away, then they would come in the past, had to ask permission for putting tables outside. And it was granted or wasn't granted.
right. I'm just trying to make sure like our definitions all make sense to what we're putting in these too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Excuse me, what applicant are we talking about?
This is the one that was next door to Silver Sun.
Yeah, yeah, this is my building. This used to be Carol's Organic Eatery.
No.
So it was a
No,
food,
you're wrong,
No,
Lobster.
you're on the wrong application.
sorry.
Thank you.
This is where Uncle Louis is.
All right. Ready to go on? We're working on resolution 2021-02 Bahama Llama. Did everybody get a chance to read that this afternoon? Is everybody okay with it? If they are, do I have a motion to approve? Bahama Llama, 210 North Bay Avenue.
Motion to approve, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
I'll second, Penny.
Just so you're aware, that's the address for Bahama Llama is 126 and 128 Bay Avenue.
What?
The actual address that they're using for the stores are the old Creperie and then Chico's Boutique. And they have street addresses of 126 and 128 Bay Avenue. But Creperie's formal address is over on Beach Avenue, and that's where we came up with the Albright.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is it still block 155, lot 13? Is that
No,
correct?
and I didn't put a block and lot in the resolution because there was no block and lot in the application, and I couldn't locate the correct block and lot. I think that's a
Colleen, do you
series of
have that?
stores.
I have the 210 address, but I can put up real quick.
Well, the 210 address is on Beach Avenue. That's where the new Creperie is.
Well, it says Bay Avenue, North Bay Avenue, not Beach Avenue.
In the application, it had 126 and 128. There were 2 separate numbers.
That's correct.
That's true. There was 2 separate stores.
So it's 126 and 128.
Okay.
And then let me see if I can find the block and lot.
I couldn't find it, Colleen, because I think they're numbered differently, but I think it's one owner, and I don't know what the mother, the master number is for that tract. I think they're all owned. It's one building, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the block and
Sorry.
lot. The block and lot number, not in the resolution anyway, right, Stu?
No, I did not, because I did not have a correct lot and block.
Okay, well then we can correct that later as long as it's not in the resolution and the resolution is correct with the correct address.
That's what was in the application, and I think
Yeah.
we all acknowledge, and they told us what the names of the stores were.
Right,
So I
Good.
think it's on point to tell them that they have to come in for a site plan.
right,
I mean, that's what the purpose of the resolution was.
right. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Joe?
Joe?
Wait a minute, I already had a motion and
It was Jamie and Penny.
Jamie and Penny did it, so we don't need one.
Okay.
Okay.
So Mrs. Baxter,
Yes.
Mr. Meadow,
Yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pisano,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes.
Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
God,
sorry, still there?
he's muted. Yes, he put his finger up for yes.
Okay. And Mrs. Lenhard.
Sorry.
Yes. The next resolution is 2021-04 Quincy Lobster Rolls, 806 North Bay Avenue, Block 186, Lot 1. This is the one that was across from Tula, or the
Next,
golf course.
next to Tula.
Next to it.
I mean, like in Tula, actually, next to Coors.
Actually, the old building, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. It's where Tula used to be, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
And can I ask a question about the resolution?
For this one, yes.
Thank you. The proposed use, I'm trying to understand what proposed use means going forward if in a couple of, like, hopefully there won't be a change of hands, but if there is, we just don't have, I'm trying to understand that because they can eat on premise there, is this a restaurant or it's not a restaurant? And again, to the takeout. So like what kind of business can go in here after if they decide to move on and somebody else goes in? What makes it that the next tenant has to come before the land use board? Because we have a lot of applications that are saying they're not restaurants, but in
They're
this
not
case,
cooking, Nicole, they're not cooking, and that's in there. They're preparing, they're assembling their food. They're not cooking anything. And there's no kitchen. There's
so when you say not
refrigeration and
cooking, is that what the issue is? Like,
well, that's what they said they're doing. I mean, if they were cooking, you would be looking for some additional information as far as where the venting's going to go, where the exhaust fans are. That's
there's
what my
no kitchen.
understanding is what we were looking for.
no. I think it's fine. I'm just trying to understand because it's just something that's not a part of what we've been doing. That what makes a proposed use in the business district trigger a site plan? Is it cooking, which will do that and makes it a restaurant? Like, because like the definition of restaurant, like I'm just trying to understand what the borderline of all that is so that.
Well, I took it, Nicole, I took it out of what was presented to us at the board, and the board found that this is a limited use at the site. They're building a small deck. I mean, they could build that deck and use it as part of Coors ice cream.
Yeah,
And
and I
they
said
just-
yes. I'm not arguing any of this. I'm just trying to understand what happens going forward if somebody comes in and says that they want to, assemble something and do that again. They'll be able to do that, but they can't cook.
Nicole, if somebody wants to go in there and serve something different and put tables in there, they're gonna have, and put a kitchen, they're gonna have to come before us again.
Can I say something? My understanding of this is if that changes names, they have to come back to start with a 3-person committee.
Yeah,
So when the Carol's Eatery is going to a lobster place, it's the same type
Thing.
thing, but because they're changing the name, just like changing a t-shirt shop to a jewelry shop.
right.
If the name of the store changes, that's what we're doing here. And they would have to come back, in my opinion. And
Okay.
start with the 3-person committee, and if it fits the bill, fine. If it doesn't, it keeps moving up the chain.
Good.
Okay.
So, guys, would it be prudent for us to generate a list of definitions that we can use as guidance?
Scott, there was a meeting,
Scott, that is a great idea. You take care of that.
just as an aside, Scott, there was a meeting with Borough Council, with the Borough Solicitor, and Sherry, Bonnie, Frank, and myself at one point speaking just to that, trying to come up with some better specifications for how this is going to work and going forward with the changes of use.
I think the 2 new appointees to the land use board should be tasked with coming up with this list as their first chore. What do you think, Jerry?
Got one more thing to do. All right, I want to get this resolution passed. Can I have a motion to pass of resolution 2021-04 Quincy Lobster Rolls? That was the deck that they added outside,
Motion to
feet above ground.
so pass, yes.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to.
I make a motion, Scott.
Scott, second,
It goes Jerry.
Jerry,
Nicole Baxter or Mrs. Baxter,
Yes.
Mr. Meadow,
Yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pizzano,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
yes,
Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
Yes.
and Mrs. Lenhard.
yes.
Bonnie, I think you may not have Salsa Shack on there, but that's the other resolution that we have for tonight.
Oh, okay. What's the number?
2020-15.
2021-15?
No, 2020-15.
15. And that's the salsa? All right, did everybody have a chance to read that this afternoon?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Nope.
Nope.
Can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve. Ken?
Ken, thanks.
I'll second, Penny.
Mrs. Baxter,
Yes.
Mr. Meadow,
Yes.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pizzano,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes,
Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
Yes.
and Mrs. Lenhard.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now for our first application for tonight is 2021-03, the Mystic Lobster Rolls and Subs, 805 North Bay Avenue, Block 190, Lot 2.02. The applicant is seeking a minor site plan exemption to move into Carol's Organic Eatery. Who's speaking for
Is
this?
the applicant here?
I know that Dan is here, who is the owner of the building,
I'm here.
and then Phil is here as well.
If you're going to speak, please put yourself on video also, so we can see who you are. Who's speaking?
Phil is, there's Phil.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's Phil?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Hello,
State your name and your address, please.
Philip Tritola, 2901 Long Beach Boulevard in Ship Bottom. The new one, the new address?
No, that's it.
That's Philip Tritola?
Yes,
Okay, you're the applicant and for this business, is that correct?
yes, sir.
And it appears that a Dan De Palma, is he here this evening?
I
Yes.
believe so, yes.
Mr.
Yeah, I'm
De
here as
Palma, you're
well.
the owner of the property,
Yes, sir.
and you're here basically to consent to this applicant moving forward on your property for permission to operate it.
Yes,
that correct?
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Tritola, do you certify any testimony you give tonight will be true and accurate?
Yes, sir.
And we have before us a application called a minor site plan exemption. I'm going to enter that into evidence as Exhibit A1. And that application, you signed that application and completed it, is that correct?
Yes,
Thank you. In conjunction with that application, the board was provided with a floor plan. And that also was prepared by you?
yes,
And that will be, it shows an all open area with a refrigerator and a freezer, a Bain and a couple Bain Maries. And then you
Correct.
have a pickup food counter toward the front of the building. That's
correct.
going to be Exhibit A2. And then you also supplemented the application with a with a survey of the property. And that's called a plot plan, was prepared by East Coast Engineering. And that's block 190, lot 2.02, which is where you're proposing your business. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, why don't you tell the board what your proposal is, please?
The concept itself, the lobster rolls and the subs, it's all takeout. There's no open flame, which makes it a lot easier for what I do. It's all prepared food. There's no seats inside, no tables. Everything is prepared, picked up, and taken out of the restaurant and of the place to eat. It's all takeout, assembled on premises, no cooking, no open flame. And it's just all, it's lobster rolls, which are 8 and 1, 2, 3, 4, approximately 10 subs.
You'll be
Is,
selling beverages as well?
Sodas. I have 2 vendors. One's Coca-Cola and one's Seaview Beverage, which is Snapple.
Going through the application, do you want to tell us, hang on one second, sir.
Are they prepackaged sodas or fountain sodas?
I'm sorry?
Prepackaged drinks or fountain drinks?
Prepackaged, no fountain soda.
is the parking lot in the back available to your customers?
No,
That's all private?
it's all private, correct. It's all off-street parking for my customers.
Okay.
And we also got emailed. I just don't know if you want to include it, Stu. I didn't hear you mention it. We also have another site plan that was emailed to us.
Why don't we get that? Hang on a second.
I'm looking at 2. There's a plot plan and a site plan. One's prepared by O'Donnell, Stanton and Associates.
Okay, I'm looking at the Jason, okay, I did not see that, so that will be,
And I just,
so I'm gonna say A3 is East Coast Engineering. And then this document is
what I have.
prepared by who? O'Donnell Stanton?
yes.
When was that?
One of them was the one that we had from the zoning office. So we could provide a site plan. I think that was this one.
Right, and is that the same building that's there right now?
This is,
I think that was before they put the elevated deck across the front of the property, which was shown on the other exhibit you
The
marked.
one by Marciano, right?
Right,
East Coast Engineering is the more updated one.
right,
this is the
correct.
newer one.
Yeah, that shows the second floor open deck.
Right.
The first one was back in 2000 or September of 18.
I have a question. The proposed is a second floor facility? You have to go upstairs to get to you?
No,
No.
no. First
No.
floor.
Okay. It's just a deck above you.
On the side of me, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Tretola, this building is this building, it says it's a 2.5-story frame building. You're just taking the first floor, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that the entire first floor or just a portion of it?
Just a portion of it.
And what's on the other portion?
Storage. The apartment Dan would know more than I do, but above it is the apartment and the deck, and the bottom floor is the mixed use, which would be the storefront.
So how much space do you, I had 2 questions. How much space do you have from the front of the building when you enter to the back, approximately?
From the front to the back,
Like to your back wall, your tenant wall?
it's about 800 square foot, the spot itself.
Gotcha. And then I just had another question about the front of the building. I see there's an existing wood ramp out front, brick pavers, but is this site plan? I just saw some steps going up into the business. I didn't see a ramp or,
There is steps going up, yes.
but there's not a ramp.
There's no ramp.
Why is there a ramp on the,
That's what I'm asking.
right?
That, I don't know, that site plan, the one that you have, I don't know, maybe that's an old plan.
It's dated 12 of 19.
So we don't have the current site plan for after for the CO when you know, like the existing conditions once the construction's done?
No, I have, there was a plan that was submitted and that was attached on the township site for this meeting. So I don't know where. I lost my computer link up, and I'm hearing nothing but an echo on my phone. So my apologies. But the site plan that I saw that was on the website today was the one that was most accurate.
You don't have a copy of it.
It's on your website.
Colleen,
It
isn't
was-
that, would you?
It was one of the links that was, it was one of the links for the
That's this
meeting
one.
this evening.
Oh, that's the old one. Okay,
That's what I'm trying to get at. So he's saying that this is the one that's really the new one, but
Hey, Dan, do you have two devices going right now?
No, I lost, my computer went down. I don't know what
He hasn't
happened.
shut his computer off. The mic's still picking him up.
He has to mute one of his devices or we're gonna keep hearing this interference.
yeah. So we're looking at an old site plan before the decks were added to the side of the building, which included straight steps down, which it still has today.
So, yes, the straight steps were there. And
Were you supposed to put in a ramp and never did?
no,
Then I'm confused as to why this exterior wood ramp, I'm assuming for handicap accessibility.
it wasn't for ADA compliance. It was just for deliveries.
Okay.
The old ramp went up to a platform, and then the step into the store was about, I want to say it was probably 8 to 9 inches, above the platform. So it was not an ADA ramp.
Do you have railings on your steps?
They're new steps. They were just put in. So
Do you have
there will be.
railings?
There will be railings put in. There was an application and a building permit that was applied for. I'm waiting for the railings to be put in. They should be put in within the next, 2 to 3 weeks.
Mhm.
I will obviously have those in before Phil is operational. The steps that were there that were there were completely wood rotted and dry rotted and every other insect, and they were in disrepair. They needed to be removed and replaced.
All right, does anybody else have any questions for this applicant?
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
This is
I do,
David.
if I
I'm
could.
confused where this location is.
Next to Lawnsbury, isn't it?
Jimmy, I couldn't hear you.
I'm a little confused where the location is.
Yeah, it's right next door to Jay and Betty. Yep, Lawnsbury.
Well, street, please.
It's 805 North Bay. It's between Taylor and 8th.
It's across from the golf course. It's the site, if you remember, Jim, the ramp went totally across the front of the old structure, as I recall, anyway.
That's accurate.
Jamie, you want to ask your question while he's looking?
Yeah, I just had two questions, Mr. Tritola. Are you aware of the trash ordinance in town? As far as having a dumpster, which I haven't seen on here, that you can have 3 95-pound trash cans. Is that going to be sufficient enough, picked up twice a week?
That's going to be more than enough. If I create more than one household kitchen garbage bag every 3 days, it's going to be a lot, because my store in Ship Bottom is full service. I create a lot of garbage here. So I have a 5 square cubic yard dumpster. There, I scaled it down to just the lobster rolls and the subs, and you're talking minute garbage, really are.
And there's a bathroom downstairs for employees, I'm assuming?
Yes, yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Are you going to have refrigeration, 3-bay sinks, etc. for
I have a
residual prep?
correct, a 3-bay sink, slop sink, and a hand sink.
Mhm.
It's all on this drawing.
Your hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and you're going to handle this business with 3 employees, is that correct?
3, correct.
And the hours are correct, the 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
11 to 8, correct.
Okay, Jim, do you want to ask your question now?
No, I had no questions. I was
Oh,
confused on
okay.
location.
all right.
And the just real quick with the trash cans, just because there's a dwelling upstairs.
Right.
So he'll have 3 cans. The dwelling upstairs will have 1 or 2 cans, and just, they'll be conscientious of the boulevard, putting the cans out on the street and bringing them in, and
Oh,
Yeah,
100 absolutely. I know I will.
I'm pretty diligent about the trash, and yeah, actually Phil and I had a discussion about this early on. So, and I know he had indicated early on that he wasn't creating any excess trash, and that whatever he created, he was actually going to bring to his store up north. So, no problems.
Okay, anybody else have a question? Nope.
There's a spot for the trash to be stored. Do you have a place for the cans? On the
I'm
side?
sorry. I'm sorry.
Do you
So-
have
so
a place for
where's
the
the
cans
trash going to be
now?
kept?
On the side of the building, the trash cans itself. Most of the garbage, if not all of it, I'm going to most likely bring up to Ship Bottom.
Right.
You're literally talking about 1 bag a day and a household kitchen size bag.
Yeah, and just, but in addition, I mean, we have ample space to the right of the building for trash cans, additional trash cans, if needed. So there's no concern there whatsoever in terms of how the trash will be handled.
And I just had another quick question too. How will you try to just deal with maybe, a customer that's wants to drive underneath and park in the back and not know? Will you have some signage? Like, how are you going to just get everyone familiar with your site?
Yeah, I'll take care of the signage. This is a driveway. There's no parking lot here. It's not wide enough for anyone to negotiate going in and out of this and with any sense of comfort. But yeah, the prior owner had a sign up in the front of the building that that said no parking, and I think that's really all it's going to take. It doesn't look terribly inviting for anyone to go in there to figure that they're going to be able to negotiate getting in and out of there. So there's lots of municipal parking, not even a block away. So we're really not concerned. And there's usually ample parking right in front of the building. I mean, so not really worried about that.
And then last thing, because I just thought of it again, just loading. What kind of deliveries do you really see? Just because you are on the boulevard, there will be cars parked parallel along the boulevard and Bay Avenue in front of the building. You know, when the Coca-Cola truck comes, what are you going to do?
I've been dealing with this for 30 years. You know, they especially with streets like this, what they do here in front of my store now, they park in the street. You know, they pull in the side, they put their lights on, they get out as quick as they can. What I've done, because I'm fortunate, because I do have several stores, is I'm on a key program with them. So they deliver my stuff very early in the morning, between 5 and 7 a.m., which I do that for a reason. So they're not delivering in peak times, not just for public reasons, but for myself. I hate getting orders at 12 noon, so they have my full alarm codes. They come in, they open the door, they set my stuff down and they leave. And that's usually 5:36 in the morning.
The Coca-Cola too?
Unfortunately, not the soda, but all my food vendings are like that.
Right.
Coca-Cola, they have their own mind.
Right.
What about Seaview?
I mean, they just have a big truck, so.
Right, absolutely. Seaview, the same thing. They're instructed not to deliver during prime hours. A lot of times, we, as purveyors, we have windows that we sign off on, and I always sign off early in the morning for that reason. But with the food, which is, I guess, more imperative than the drinks. Drinks you get once every 2 weeks. That's not really an issue. The food does come sometimes twice a week. So the nice thing with that is they have my key, they have my alarm. They're in and out of my building no later than 6:30, 7 o'clock a.m.
So how many deliveries do you think you'll have a week approximately, just to get a sense? Like, do you think you're having 3 a day?
Twice a week.
Okay.
Twice a week.
I have a question for Tom Meadow. Tom, is it legal to park one of those Coke trucks on Bay Avenue?
Not the double park, but if he can squeeze in like one of the parking spaces and block that driveway, it's just a temporary delivery. It's no worse than UPS trucks or FedEx guys.
Got it.
Yeah.
They have several different trucks too. Not all of them are 28-foot refrigerated box trucks. They have 12-footers, they have cargo vans, and for that particular reason, what you just stated. A lot of fish companies also have smaller trucks. I know Sally's, when they deliver to me, they deliver in a 12-foot van.
Right.
All right. Any more questions for this gentleman? Can I have a motion to approve this application, or
Motion to approve, Joe.
second?
Second, Jamie.
Baxter,
Yes.
Mr. Meadow,
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Jim?
Jim,
He's muted.
Looks like he's frozen.
Yeah.
Frozen too. He is in Utah.
okay,
Is he?
Go on.
all right. So Mr. Pisano,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes.
Mr. Muha,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
Yes. I think Jim's back.
Is Jim back?
He's talking, but he muted himself.
Jim, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I lost connection. Yes.
And Mrs. Lenhard.
Yes.
Application was
Congratulations. Good
approved.
luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
night.
Sorry for all my technical issues here.
No problem. All right, deep breath. Next one up is application 2021-05 SNS Properties. This applicant is seeking a preliminary and final site plan approval and variance relief for hardship and substantial benefit.
Good
Applicant,
evening, James Rabin on behalf of the applicant S&S Properties.
you're not gonna let me finish reading all this?
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. I apologize, Bonnie.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
No, continue.
Yes, it needs to be read. They're going to demolish the existing Fred's Diner, construct a new 2-story building. The first floor will contain retail space and storage. The second story will contain two 2-bedroom apartments. The applicant is also proposing a reconstructed parking lot, and a driveway to 4th Street is also proposed in the location of the existing parking lot. Now you can talk.
Thank you. I apologize again. James Rabin on behalf of the applicant S&S Properties.
Okay.
All right, before we start, the board was provided with an application. Why don't we mark some exhibits into evidence? We have an application that was received February 8th, 2021 by the board. It's dated February 8th, 2021, and that's going to be entered into evidence as Exhibit A1. We have the title sheet, we have the application, we have engineering work prepared by East Coast Engineering under signature and seal of Jason Marciano, who's a professional engineer and professional planner. There's 5 sheets attached, and they are going to be entered into evidence as Exhibit A2. And the board was provided architectural plans under signature and seal of Craig Brearley. They're titled S&S Properties, lots 1, 2, and 4, block 169, and that is sheets B1, BD1, BD2, BD3. I think there's a BD4. And BD4, collectively, they're going to be entered into evidence as Exhibit A3. That's under 3-1. 21. The board was provided with a copy of a resolution going back to (1983) for a site plan. If I'm not mistaken, Colleen, this is for the subject property. It says it's lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is in block 169. And Peter and Francis Butterick made application to develop the property. And it was for a site plan, but
On their application, they marked that there was a previous resolution. This
and
was
that
the
would be it.
only one that I could find that had pretty much all of the similar lots. There is one lot that is not presented in
Missing.
this application, but
All right, we'll enter that into evidence as Exhibit B2, because for B1, we're going to take Mr. Little's letter. Mr. Raven, you received the letter of Frank Little,
Yes, I did.
and you have no objection to that coming into evidence as Exhibit B1.
No objection.
Okay.
Stu,
Yes, ma'am.
we should remind Jamie and Nicole that they cannot participate in this application because it's
Right,
a
I'll
variance.
do that right now.
They are allowed to ask questions in the public comment if they so feel.
Right,
my understanding.
Jamie and Nicole, this is because of the parking area being in the residential zone, there's a special reasons or D variance requested. And under the land use law, as governing body, as the mayor and designee and as a governing body representative, you cannot participate in a use variance. However, as part of the public, you're more than welcome to ask questions and participate as would anybody else. But the reason for this, and I don't know if we have it in our ordinances, but there's that exemption because years ago, the first round of appeal for denial of a use or special reasons variance was to the governing body. So they treat this as a true zoning board who has a jurisdiction for a use variance. So we're going to serve as a 7-member board on this particular application because with the use variance, the applicant requires 5 affirmative votes to get approval. But now so we'll clear that. But right now, B1 is a letter of Mr. Little.
Stu,
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just a little confused because on the original application and then with Frank's letter, it's different. So in the original application, it's not a use variance, they're just C variances and there's multiple ones. And then with Frank's letter, now there's a D variance and then also multiple C variances as well. So are we just now moving forward with this application, even though the application that they originally submitted is not correct?
Well, I think the application, it was, let me ask you that. I
I
looked
think
at
it says
Frank's
D
letter.
variance on the application.
The original, did you send another one out?
No,
Two
Let me
A.
look at the application, Jamie. I'm sorry. I mean, this is,
I can raise that too. I don't believe that we initially did request that it was a D variance. And I know that we didn't notice for the D variance, but we did specifically state in the notice that we were proposing the parking lot in the location of where it exists now, which is in the residential zone. So I feel that we've satisfied the notice requirement and that the board has jurisdiction. The fact that the application itself did not call for the D variance, I don't believe makes the application deficient. We can simply amend the application to include the D variance. It was simply an oversight just based upon the fact that the parking lot only was located within the residential zone.
but you're
Well,
aware that the parking lot is not permitted in the residential zone. So there's no question that this requires a special reasons variance.
Correct. Yes, I'm acknowledging that. That's correct.
However, you did not call it out as a special reasons variance in your application, and our engineer and planner picked it up in his letter. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
So at this point, just so you're aware, Mr. Raven, and we'll get into it, I'm sure you are aware that your client requires 5 affirmative votes to get this approved.
Correct.
For all of the variances and for the project as it's submitted.
Right.
I mean, we don't bifurcate the parking from the rest of the application.
Understood.
So Stu, am I allowed to, or Nicole and I allowed to participate in the overall discussion, or we have to participate as public comment? Because I prepared for this meeting as C variances, not a D variant, not a D variance. So, I mean, what we can't.
Jamie, I would think that as a practical matter, just to keep the application clean, I would rather you participate as a member of the public if you're so inclined. But as sitting on the board, you're really not authorized to, under the land use law, to act on it. And you're aware of that as a D
Yes.
variance, although it wasn't presented to you as such. And that's unfortunate. I don't know what the applicant's plans are this evening anyway, and let me finish. We'll mark the documents into evidence, and I think there may, because if in fact the application is carried for any reason, I would think the more prudent thing would be for Mr. Raven to republish and renotice and call out a D variance so there's no question, and amend the application formally.
So would there be multiple votes or just one overall vote? Because there's a D variance and then other C variances as well, or it's all.
I think the project would be one overall vote because everything's related. I mean, they're seeking variances from buffers, if I'm not mistaken. They're seeking there's a list of variants that are being requested in this application. Basically, what the board's going to deal with is going to be the demolishing the building. We're looking at this particular lot, and they want to develop it a certain way, which they may or may not be entitled to based upon their application. But part of it is that because of the parking being located in the residential zone, or if any of the uses were located in the residential zone, they would be obligated to seek a D variance.
Okay, because the 25-foot rear setback, that's in the commercial to the residential, which is the C, not a D variance.
That's a
correct?
C variance.
So this will be different votes, or no, just one overall vote?
I would be one overall vote. I mean, the projects, because we're asking for not only the variances, they're asking for a site plan. I mean, what they could do is they could come in and ask to be bifurcated, I gather, and ask for the D variance to see if they're entitled to that. Or they could ask for but it doesn't make sense the way the property's designed. I mean, the parking's a requirement of the zone, and it's an integral part of the application. But that's just my, quick look at it. I just realized when I received Frank's letter that they're asking for they're asking for the residential use to be parking in the residential use. I didn't pick up on the
Okay,
difference in the zone at the time.
So quick question. So Stu, are you accepting the application as it is, or how does that work if there was a mistake?
Well, there's not a mistake because he's telling us what he wants to do. I mean,
Okay.
he's laying out what the application is. So now we're actually classifying it because what it is a D variance. He knew he wasn't allowed to, he's showing that and he's asking for a variance for the parking. I don't know. I would defer to Frank on the actual application. He picked it up, but when he reviewed the application, he came out that the parking relief is there, and he said he needs a hardship, and he did do the substantial benefit. Well, that's under 55D70C, so that's the C2 variance. He did not cross off on his application that he needed a use variance.
So Stu, I'm not sure if I should speak now or wait a little while, but I have serious concerns about this application. We're taking down a building. We have a clean lot, and there's absolutely no reason the applicant cannot meet the buffers and cannot conform to the majority of our ordinance. So if they expect to stay on here to present this tonight, I think they would have a much better opportunity if they held this over and considered making serious revisions to this project.
Well, I'm concerned because I'm listening to Jamie, and quite candidly, if Jamie's confused, not confused, I'm sorry, Jamie, to characterize it as that.
That's okay.
But if Jamie doesn't understand as a member of the board who went to class and has studied the application, if she didn't understand that they were asking for a use variance, there may be some confusion out there in the public as to the actual notice. And then when you get the notice is one thing, but if you look at the application, notwithstanding the request for the relief, there's an oversight, and it may not even have been an oversight, but notwithstanding, our application calls for you have to call out what type of application it is and what relief you're asking. And they did not ask for this particular relief by title, although in the application, the relief is being spelled out what they're asking to accomplish. I would think if it was me, and I'm going to let Mr. Rabin speak to his clients, I think the prudent means would be to listen to what Mr. Little said, understand that because it's a use variance, what the supermajority is required, and notwithstanding, if we pass on this notice, if it's challenged, the notice may not be deemed sufficient by an appellate body. And, I'm not going to pass on it. I would bring that up to the board. I don't make those calls. I mean, the board understands what the issues are and they would decide. But I think at this juncture, based upon our colloquy, that Mr. Rabin may want to take a couple minutes to speak to his clients and see how they want to proceed this evening. Is there anything
Yes,
else
thank
you
you.
have, Frank? Bonnie?
Yes, Jim, do you want to speak to your clients?
Sure, I'll speak to them for a few minutes. Certainly, with respect to Mr. Little's comments,
Okay.
If there's a concern with the overall project, putting the notice issue aside, I think that, if I could have 5 minutes, I'll give my client a call and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes if that's acceptable.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, at 7:05.
Thank you.
I have a question. Ken Muha. I
Yes,
received a
Ken.
letter from Jim. I have 2 businesses within 200 feet of this project. Should I recuse myself?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
And an alternate would stand in
Dropping
your
like
place.
flies.
But don't go anywhere yet.
I know.
Go ahead.
Okay. Jim,
Okay,
you
we'll
can
be
go
back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
5 minutes. All right, everybody, go get a drink, relax, stretch your legs,
Cheers.
and we'll stop at 7:05.
Thank you, Jamie, for bringing that up.
If you're nice to the kid in Rummels, he'll deliver.
Thanks, Stu.
They gotta take a 5-minute break. It looks like they're gonna pull that application.
They left his speaker. Remember to mute yourself.
So while we've got a minute, Colleen, the alternates who were approved by the board on Thursday, when should they expect to hear anything and become part of our process and proceedings?
That'll be next meeting. They'll be sworn in. I couldn't
Okay.
do it today due to my email status and function. So, next meeting, they'll be sworn in.
Well,
Thank-
who did we get? I didn't hear this.
Scott's friend, I only thought there was
Balbo?
one. Was there
Jamie
two?
Balbo?
Jamie Balbo, yes.
Right, and who was the other one? Colleen?
I was only aware of one.
Oh,
I thought Scott said they. I didn't tune into the council meeting, so I don't know if I missed something.
Yeah, someone that Jerry recommended. Where'd Jerry go?
oh, Lafredo?
He lives on Holyoke?
Yes, yes. Oh, good. Okay. That'd be 2 good members.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think just your friend will be sworn in next month, Scott. I don't know about, would you say it was Jerry's friend?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna follow up with Jerry on that.
Here
So
he
the
is.
class that we,
Back.
we're just making conversation. So the
Colleen, did
class
you
that
hear me?
Jamie, you and I
I
finished,
can.
Colleen,
that we
did you
finished.
need
So when
help with
there's
it,
an,
or-
oh, never mind.
Sorry, you guys. What do you want to say, Jerry?
No, was there, I heard my name mentioned. I stepped away for a minute.
No,
That's what happens, Jerry.
I'll reach out to you afterwards because
Okay,
it was about your friend applying for the land use board.
okay,
So I'll talk to you afterwards.
all right.
Go ahead, Nicole.
So just because it sounds like there's 2 new alternates joining the board, what's the time frame for alternates when they get on the board to really get educated about their position? Like, so for the class we all took,
Mhm.
so what's the timeline for that?
I believe it's mandatory within the first year that you serve, that you have to take that class.
Didn't you take that class before, Nicole?
Yes.
She took it with me just for fun.
No, I think I had to take it again because
It lapsed.
I
Yeah.
thought it was really, it was fun. I mean,
no, I'm
I-
kind of suggesting that I think any new members really need to take that as soon as possible.
yeah.
It's not that long.
It's
Not
very
that-
it's educational.
Do we
and
have a
it's-
2021 schedule?
Yes.
If you've taken it already, you don't have to take it again.
Except for me.
If you wanted to.
No. I meant like, I don't know why I had to take it again, but
It's pretty informative because they tell you like what the trends are moving forward and, different things I found that I didn't know.
Another thing that's coming up soon, it's coming up maybe in April, is that financial statement that you have to file for. Are you aware of that, Colleen?
Yes.
Good. And you're going to send notice out to everybody so they go online, but you can't do it too far ahead of time. They won't let you in or something. There's a certain date for that thing. And if you don't do it, they find you $100. Because I forgot one year and got fined, so I'm just telling you
Thank you.
to do it.
Financial notice?
This is they want to know how many properties you own in New Jersey or anywhere else and all that kind of stuff about you.
You
Your
really want
finance,
to know what your source of income is.
Yeah.
Not how much, but what the source is, to see if
Right.
there's any conflict out there.
Just so you know, we're ready whenever the board is.
Oh.
No rush, but
Okay, now let's get going.
okay.
You're up.
Everybody back?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tom,
Alan?
Except for Tom.
Okay.
Where's Tom?
Jerry,
There's
we're
Tom.
talking about you again, Jerry.
Jerry's making,
Okay,
Okay, everybody's back?
well, Alan's not back. I don't know why he didn't click on, but. Oh, here he
There.
comes.
Al is there.
Alan? Al? Earth to Al. There he goes. He's on. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with my client, and we would like to carry the application. But I thought maybe while we're all here, maybe we could take a couple minutes to get a little feedback and just discuss things so that we have a better understanding maybe of what the board is looking for here, because there may be some variances that we want to request still. For example, and Frank, I guess I can talk to you about this. In that corner where the walk-in fridge is currently, where we're proposing a 10-foot setback there, technically 25 feet would, I think, be required there as well, but that's an irregularly shaped portion. We might need to ask for some relief in that section of it rather than having a 25-foot setback. And I know I'm not looking for an answer about what can be approved and not approved, but we're willing to provide the buffers, the full 10-foot buffers all around the residential zone, because it seems to me that that's a big concern of the board. You know, we were trying to utilize the parking lot as it is now, because it's been like that for a long time. In order to put the buffer there on the easterly side of the parking lot, we're going to have to shift the entire parking lot, and as a result, a substantial portion of the building it's going to shrink substantially, I think, the building. But you know, we're willing to work with the board, and the impervious coverage, I know, is a big issue in Beach Haven as well. So the parking lot will be of some type of porous surface. We'll get that impervious coverage down below the maximum amount of 60%. But we'll welcome any feedback if the board has any right now. If there's anything that they would like the applicant to consider in revising the plans, we're open to the ideas.
Can I speak?
Yeah, this is, can I speak or?
Yes, Jim, go ahead.
Okay, this is Jim Stevens. I concur with Frank. We have a real clean slate here to start with, and I don't really see the need for these variances. I don't disagree with in the corner, the 25 feet, as long as there's a proper buffering. And I think it might depend on some input from that adjacent owner. But as far as the parking, yes, I believe you need the full buffers around that, the plantings and et cetera. The other comment is they had a light up on the building, which to me is glare. And I think the ordinance covers glare in the site plan ordinance. So I would like to see the lighting directed away from the residential and towards the building. And now that you have a 10-foot buffer, I don't think that would be an issue.
Okay.
But I don't see the need for the variances personally, with the exception, because that would be the irregular lot.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to make one comment. I know we don't have a lot to say about the architectural style of the building, but I was sure hoping that they would come up with something that's more in keeping with Beach Haven than what they've shown us. I also have a concern about this drive-it that they're using on most of the building. I've looked that up, and unless that is absolutely installed correctly with all the caulking around the windows and the doors, there's a lot of black mold issues with that substance. And it's got a pretty bad reputation if you read about it online. So those are my only two comments, other than I agree with Jim. We've got a clean slate. Let's do it right from the beginning.
And I'm sorry, what was the name of that substance, Bonnie? I missed that.
Drive it. It's on the plan. It's
Okay.
DRYBIT, I think it is.
And
I was going to say something very similar what Bonnie just said. I think the architectural style of that building quite a bit resembles a similar looking building that's in Ship Bottom. And we certainly don't want to look like Ship Bottom. I think a more traditional Beach Haven style of structure would be much more well received in the middle of town.
Here, here.
Can I just make a point?
I would like to see.
You guys, I'm sorry. Jamie's been trying to talk since the beginning. I don't mean to cut you off.
So I agree with both Bonnie and Scott and Jim here. And just to kind of bring the master plan in here, Mr. Rabin, there's multiple points in the master plan where we are trying to, anywhere that is definitely backed up to the historical zone, which actually the parking lot is technically part of the historical zone, that we want to have that transition into the historical zone be more comparable. So there's multiple places where we want to establish minimum design standards for the exterior faces of buildings within the business district with consistent influences from the historic district. So that's the flow that Scott is describing. Ship Bottom doesn't have a historical zone, which Beach Haven does. So that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to kind of have a nice transition. So I know that we can't tell someone how they want to design, but that's what we're really looking for here is that.
Okay.
And as far as the drainage and the impervious, the only thing that I'm really concerned with is mitigating the actual stormwater runoff from the roof area. So if there's a design path to go into the buffer zone rather than going into the street, that would be, an excellent idea to mitigate the stormwater runoff, because, I understand, impervious is, to get to the 60/40 is very difficult within the business district. So if we could somehow come up with a mitigation plan with the stormwater runoff, those are the two big things that I'm looking for. Thank you.
Jim, the other thing that maybe you should be alerted to is the borough has ordinances regarding the type of lighting, both that faces out into the street. And I would ask your clients to take a hard look at that, because that may be something that'll come up at the meeting, taking into account there are other use in the neighboring town as far as the lighting they use. I don't know if that would be permitted here. So you may want to take a look at that. I mean, the plan isn't that clear on what's intended, but I think it's going to come up at the meeting.
Oh, I have one last comment. It's the streetscape. On the plan, he put one tree, one bench, one planter, one trash can. It's like he went through the master plan and looked at the streetscape and added just one. It didn't seem balanced to me. If you're going to have a bench, have two benches. But I just thought that was kind of strange. So.
Okay.
Also, you have the elevation drawings. I think a rendering would be very useful, so we get a feel for the architecture.
I think also, Jim, we noticed that there was 3 elevations, not 4.
Yes,
So
we
we
will.
could get one more. Okay.
Sure, yeah, sorry about that. We will provide the south elevation when we resubmit.
Jim, and the only other thing, based upon just if you are resubmitting, and I know it's somewhat of a burden, but I think so we're clear on the record, I would ask that today, before you close it, you formally amend the plan, the application, asking for the special reasons variance, and that this be renoticed and republished, calling out the need for a use variance. I apologize. I hate when people do that to me, but I think based upon what you've heard from the board members, we don't want any confusion with the public either.
Yeah, under the circumstances, I have no issue with that. And this way, when we submit the revised plans, the public will now be aware of what, if any, variances we're requesting. So I think to renotice is appropriate here. I agree.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
It's Joe. I totally agree with Bonnie and Jamie. What struck me most was the architecture. If Colleen could just put it up real quick again to show the picture of the building. I'm wondering, it was so different that I was wondering what architectural thoughts were going through the person during the designing phase, because it's so inconsistent and looks more, has a nice penitentiary look if it was in maybe Trenton, but this isn't Trenton or Camden. I just could not get my head around what the designer was thinking, that would be an appropriate building design for Beach Haven, let alone Bay Avenue in Beach Haven, where everybody's going to see it. So again, I would, if the application is going to be revised in any way and represented, and I'm not trying to cause a hardship for anyone, but I'll be honest with you right now. If everything is spot on perfect and I see that picture again, I'm going to have to vote no. I'm not going to waste anyone's time. That in my mind is an anomaly. I don't know how else to say it. I just don't see how it works. It's too institutional. That's all. That's all. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Joe.
Tom Metal. I certainly agree. Mr. Brierly knows how things work in this town. He knows what the architecture of the town. He's not from out of state. He should really actually have known better.
I agree.
I would absolutely vote no, just on the looks of the building. And that's not the way you want to approach it right from the beginning.
Anybody else?
I'm not allowed to say anything, right?
Who is this?
This is Ken Muha.
No talking, Ken.
Okay.
Because he's in 200 feet. That's right.
Mhm.
Well, I had a question. Should Jamie have really been talking? Is she okay to talk?
She mentioned the master plan. No, she was just speaking in general. Although
Okay,
we're not,
good.
this is
I
not
wanted
part
to
of the
get in trouble.
application. Mr. Rabin asked for some input, so
Okay, good.
this application, if we have the two members here next month, it's going to start. We haven't taken any testimony, nor have it's been officially, we entered into evidence some documents. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be replacing them at the next meeting with the new documents that are going to come before us and new plans.
Okay,
So I would just indicate that this was an informal discussion at the request of the applicant. And at next month's meeting, if they do move forward, Mr. Muha, Mrs. Baxter, and Mrs. Baumiller will speak at the public session. They will not participate. But this was in response to a question by Mr. Rabin, and he looked to everybody for their input, so.
okay.
Can I make one comment?
Sure, Jim.
Yeah, the parking is going to require the D variance, and I would suggest that the applicant really have the neighbors on board so that it will be smooth sailing in that respect. Now, they're
That's
going
going to be up to the applicant, Jim.
Pardon?
That'll be up to the applicant, how they want to prepare for the meeting.
I'm just suggesting that they have the neighbors concurring.
I would think that the parking lot in the location where it's proposed with the additional buffering would make the most sense, as opposed, the only other place to put it is fronting right on the boulevard when having.
I don't disagree with that. I was just hoping we were going to concur with the residents, because I'm sure they're going to provide comments.
Right. Thank you.
The only other thing I thought would just be a good suggestion too is for the streetscape part, when you pull up a site plan, I'm just talking generically, And if they're going to be adding in the elements of the benches and the trees, I see here that the applicant, let me just see where I just read this. So they have about 6 to 12 feet in some areas for sidewalk. And when you go back to the sidewalk ordinance in Beach Haven, 4 foot is the sidewalk, but there's also a 2-foot utility strip, but we don't really put them on the boulevard. So that's 6 feet. I'd like to see when we add those elements in the streetscape, how they relate to the utility poles, just to make sure you're maintaining the 4-foot dimensions throughout the new improvements on the site.
Okay.
Like, just double check those dimensions.
Thank you.
Any other suggestions? Okay.
Okay, now I'm gonna just request input from Mr. Marciano and Mr. Brearley in order to submit revised plans for the April 5th meeting. We would need to have plans in by March 26th. So I just would like their input as to whether or not that provides them with enough time, or if we want to carry to the May meeting.
You said March 26th?
March 26th would be the deadline to submit revised plans for the April 5th meeting, yes.
I can make that work.
I'll make every attempt to. It's certainly going to depend on the new design of this. That might take a while.
Okay, and I suppose if we come the April meeting and we still are working on the designs, we could always request that it be carried for another month if necessary, but.
And the other thing is you are going to renotice and republish, so
Correct.
just keep the board abreast of where you are.
Okay. So I guess for purposes of this meeting, we'll request for now that it be carried to the April 5th meeting. We will renotice and republish. I'll formally amend the application at this time to request the special reasons D variance for the parking area in the residential zone. And I'll also, upon submitting the revised plans, I'll include that formal amendment as well. And we waive all time limits within which the board's required to act.
So we need a motion to carry.
Yes, before that, Stu, this is Easter Monday. Is that a problem for anybody? The 5th of April is the day after Easter. Do people work on Easter Monday? I don't know.
The borough observes Good Friday and not Easter Monday.
Okay, so everybody's working then, okay. So then we'll have our regular meeting on Easter Monday. All right, do I have a motion to carry this application to April?
Motion to carry, Tom.
Second, Scott.
Mr. Meadow,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Pisano,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes.
Mr. Herensky,
Yes.
Mrs. Lenhard,
Yes.
and Mr. Jenna.
Yes.
And just so the public is aware, this application is being carried. You will get a notice in the mail if you're within 200 feet, setting forth the next date, and then it will be republished. But as of now, the application is scheduled to be reheard on the first Monday of April.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just
What's
add,
that date?
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. Snyder. If there's any members of the public who don't receive a notice and are approaching the April meeting, please feel free to call either my office or the Land Use Board Secretary to check in as to whether we're still scheduled for April or for May.
And that would be April 5th.
Yes. April 5th, the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Are we all done?
I believe so.
I think
Yes.
that's it. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Bonnie, I have a question. There's no public comment tonight?
Well, we're not, what, on this application, you want
Yeah,
to?
I mean, I think that there's some things to be heard by you, for you guys to hear about what we would, I don't know, myself, I think.
Well, I've always been told, is this Barb Kona speaking?
No,
That's Kitty.
Oh, it's
Kitty?
Kitty.
I think that's for the council meeting. We only hear public.
Why would it be a council meeting if it's a land use thing about the design and how important it is?
Well, then you can
In the
speak to
land use,
that.
I mean, none of you are
Kitty.
even talking about the design except for
Kitty,
two people.
Kitty, you can speak to that when they come back to us in April in public comment.
Well,
Not
with
tonight.
all due respect, I think it would serve the applicant for them to hear maybe a little bit of comment about what, I don't know, how we, or myself, I don't speak for anyone but myself, but I know
Well, that's the
in
way it's been.
APAC, we have a design
That-
guideline meeting, and that way it helps the applicant know what the flavor is, or what the climate is, and what they're.
Well,
what
I
town
think
is
we
looking
had
for.
enough comments by board members tonight to cover that.
I disagree, sorry.
That, and that's the way we've always handled it before. We've saved public comment for when the applicant is being discussed. So,
Well, it would save the applicant a lot of money if you let a little bit of comment, I think.
well, I think they had enough comment, Kitty. I disagree with you.
No, I disagree.
Okay?
Yep.
I'm not getting Stu in this.
No, I don't speak for him, God knows.
He's very quiet.
He doesn't like it when I say anything.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Third.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good
Thank you.
night.